At my 28th birthday party, my mom leaned in close to my younger brother and whispered, "Well, everyone's here. Go and change the—" She had no idea my Bluetooth earbud was still connected to the baby monitor sitting on the kitchen counter. I froze in place, holding a slice of my birthday cake, as my mother quietly plotted to strip away everything my late husband and I spent 6 grueling years building together. Hi, my name is Clara. I'm 28 years old, and until that night, I truly believed family meant unconditional love, sacrifice, and loyalty. But while 30 guests sang to me, I realized I wasn't the guest of honor. I was the target of a calculated family ambush. They thought I was just a grieving, clueless widow who would hand over her future without a fight. They had no idea I heard every single word, or what was next. Just 8 months ago, my world completely shattered when my husband, David, passed away after a sudden illness. We spent 6 years pouring our sweat, savings, and late nights into building our lives together. Through hard work and smart investments, we owned our suburban home mortgage-free, and I built a thriving home catering business that gave us financial independence. After David died, my mother, Eleanor, and my younger brother, Julian, suddenly became fixtures in my life. Growing up, Eleanor was always status-obsessed, treating family like assets on a ledger, while Julian was her golden child, an entitled 25-year-old who drifted from one failed investment scheme to another. Lately, Julian had been drowning in silent debt, living way beyond his means to project an image of luxury he couldn't afford. When Eleanor insisted on hosting a grand surprise birthday party at my house, claiming I needed light in my darkness, I was deeply moved. She bought expensive decorations, ordered fine wine, and invited 30 of our closest family friends. Sitting at my dining room table surrounded by warm smiles and birthday toasts, I believed her soft hugs and comforting words were genuine. I thought my family had finally stepped up to wrap their arms around a grieving widow. I had no idea it was all a carefully staged distraction. The grand party wasn't a gift for my healing. It was a smokescreen designed to keep me occupied while they robbed me blind under my own roof. The music vibrated through the floorboards, and the dining room buzzed with happy chatter. Standing by the kitchen island, I was reaching for another glass of punch when my mother's voice came cutting through my Bluetooth earbud with terrifying, crisp clarity. "Well, everyone's here, and she's distracted," Eleanor whispered, her voice laced with an urgency that sent a chill straight down my spine. "Go upstairs right now and swap the deed documents in her safe with the signed transfer forms." I froze in place. The happy chatter of 30 party guests turned into muffled static in my ears. Julian's quiet, nervous reply came next over the monitor. "What if the safe is locked?" "The combination is David's birthday, you idiot," Eleanor hissed back. "She never changed it. Just do it now before she comes upstairs." A wave of nausea hit me so hard I had to grip the edge of the granite counter. For 8 months, I had thought my mother and brother were stopping by to comfort me in my grief. In reality, they had been observing my habits, studying my house, and waiting for the precise moment when I was most distracted to strip away my late husband's hard-earned legacy. Heart pounding against my ribs, I forced a tight smile, set my glass down, and slipped away into the hallway while everyone was focused on a birthday toast. I crept up the carpeted stairs toward my second-floor home office. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, Julian stood hunched over my wall safe. The heavy metal door hung open. In his hands was the thick manila folder containing the original deed to my mortgage-free house. On the desk beside him lay a stack of forged transfer forms, already bearing my faked signature, ready to be swapped into the safe so they could claim I had voluntarily handed my home over to Julian. I stepped back into the shadows of the hallway before he turned around. In that quiet corridor, my heartbreak completely evaporated, replaced by a cold, calculating anger. They thought I was a fragile, clueless widow ready to break. They had no idea I was about to turn their plot upside down. Instead of rushing into the office and causing a dramatic scene in front of 30 party guests, I backed away silently down the hall. Confronting them right then would only make them deny everything, destroy evidence, or claim it was all a big misunderstanding. I needed absolute proof, and I needed the law fully on my side. I spent the rest of the evening playing the part of the gracious, happy birthday girl, serving cake and accepting warm hugs from my mother and brother. Whenever Eleanor squeezed my hand with that fake, loving smile, my skin crawled. Every laugh I forced felt like swallowing glass, but I kept my composure until the last guest finally drove away. At 8 o'clock the next morning, I was sitting in the high-rise office of Sarah, my late husband's trusted estate attorney. I handed her the photos I had secretly taken of the forged transfer documents Julian left on the desk, alongside the audio file captured by my Bluetooth monitor. Sarah's face darkened as she reviewed the evidence, but after running a preliminary forensic audit on my personal records, her jaw dropped in absolute shock. "Clara, this goes way deeper than a stolen house deed," Sarah said, turning her monitor toward me. She revealed that over the last 6 months, while I was blinded by grief, Julian had stolen my social security number and personal identification. He had taken out 3 separate high-interest fraudulent loans totaling over $200,000 in my name to fund his lavish lifestyle and cover his massive gambling debts. The forged transfer documents Eleanor tried to swap into my safe at the party weren't just meant to take my house. Buried in the legal fine print was a clause where I voluntarily assumed full liability for all of Julian's debts while forfeiting my right to sue. They weren't just trying to rob me. They were setting me up to take the fall for Julian's financial crimes while stripping away every safety net I had left. A cold, razor-sharp clarity took over. The grief that had weighed me down for 8 months completely vanished, replaced by a fierce resolve to protect David's legacy. Sarah advised me to file an immediate police report, but I knew that if Julian caught wind of an investigation too early, he would liquidate his shell accounts, run, or blame everything on an anonymous hacker. I wanted them both caught dead to rights, with zero room to wiggle out. "We play along," I told Sarah. "Let them think their little party stunt worked." That afternoon, I called my mother, keeping my voice soft, timid, and trembling, the exact fragile widow routine she expected from me. I told her I was feeling overwhelmed by the financial maintenance of the house and wanted to discuss transferring some responsibilities to Julian so he could help manage things. The excitement in Eleanor's voice was almost sickening. She could barely contain her glee, assuring me that Julian would be more than happy to take that burden off my shoulders. 3 days later, I invited them both over to my dining room for what they believed was a formal signing sit-down. Julian arrived wearing an expensive designer suit, bought with the very fraudulent loans he'd stolen using my identity, strutting in like he already owned the place. Eleanor brought along a notary public, a family acquaintance they had manipulated into overseeing the paperwork. They slid the forged transfer forms across the table toward me, smiles plastered on their faces, fully believing they had outsmarted a heartbroken widow. Little did they know, every word in that room was being recorded, and the documents sitting in my hands were about to become the primary evidence in an ironclad criminal indictment. Julian set a costly pen on the table, leaning back with a triumphant grin. "Just sign on the dotted line, Clara," he said, his tone dripping with patronizing pity. "Mom and I will handle all the hard stuff from here." Eleanor nodded eagerly, nudging the notary forward. "It's for the best, sweetie. You can't handle this house alone." I picked up the pen, looked my mother straight in the eyes, and signed the bottom of the page with a steady hand. Julian practically grabbed the paper, an ugly smirk spreading across his face as he realized he had officially secured the deed to my home. "Thank you, Clara," Julian sneered. "We'll give you 30 days to pack your things." "Oh, I'm not going anywhere, Julian," I said calmly. "But you two certainly are." I reached under the table, pulled out a second manila envelope, and tossed it into the center of the glass table. The heavy thump made Eleanor flinch. "What is this?" Julian asked, his smug expression flickering. "That's the complete forensic audit from my attorney," I said, my voice cutting through the silent room like a knife. "Along with a crystal-clear audio recording from my Bluetooth monitor at my birthday party, detailing how you plan to break into my safe and swap those documents." The color drained instantly from Eleanor's face. Julian's hand started shaking as he opened the folder, his eyes darting over the bank statements, police reports, and identity theft charges staring right back at him. And those papers I just signed? I continued, leaning in close. They aren't a property transfer. You just signed an official admission of debt liability and a sworn confession acknowledging the $200,000 in fraudulent loans you took out using my stolen social security number. Before Julian could even attempt to speak, the front door chimed open. Sarah walked in, accompanied by two uniformed police officers. The notary shrank back in horror as the officers stepped forward, pulling out two sets of handcuffs. Their desperate little game was officially over. Julian was arrested on the spot for felony grand larceny, identity theft, and deed fraud. Faced with overwhelming digital and financial evidence, he pled guilty to avoid a maximum prison sentence, receiving 4 years in state prison along with court-ordered financial restitution. Eleanor was named as a co-conspirator, completely destroying her social standing and leaving her bankrupt from paying Julian's mounting legal fees. As for me, I sold the suburban house, cleared every trace of my brother's fraudulent loans from my credit report, and relocated to a quiet coastal town. I expanded my home catering business into a full-scale gourmet restaurant, finally building the peaceful, secure life David and I had always dreamed of, completely free from toxic family control. Looking back, the worst night of my life became the turning point that saved me. Standing up to my mother and brother taught me that loyalty shouldn't cost you your freedom, and family isn't defined by blood, it's defined by respect. Now, I want to ask all of you listening today, have you ever had a family member cross a major line because they thought they could get away with it? How did you handle setting boundaries with them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, share your story, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life dramatic stories. Thank you so much for watching.